In the last video, we reminded ourselves how to construct a frequency distribution using Excel. And at the time, I used an older version of Excel because it doesn't actually really matter that much for just making the table. But now we're going to construct a frequency histogram. And in this video, we're going to use Excel 2013, which is the more modern Excel. So the screen should be a lot wider. You don't have the ribbon necessarily at the top, that kind of thing. So if it looks like this, then you're in the correct version of Excel. If it doesn't look like this, that means you need to be in the other video, which is this older one right here, which is Excel 2010. So if your Excel looks like the same type of Excel that I used to make the frequency distribution video, then stop right now and go click on that other video. So currently I'm making this video, which will be Excel 2013. All right, now this will be pretty straightforward. We just have to construct a frequency distribution of the distribution found in, frequency histogram of the distribution found above using Excel. And then we'll have to print it and attach it. And at the end of the other video, I realized something major that I forgot, which is that you should have your name somewhere in here. You want to have your name and put, whatever your name is right here, because since you're stapling this to the back of the packet, it's really easy for it to fall off and then for you to lose it and the instructor not to know whose paper is whose. So just be really careful with it and put your name on it right here someplace. That way when we print it, it'll all print nicely. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the frequency, just the frequencies. Do not highlight the total. The total was to check the number of trials you did, which in our case was 40. Now that we've checked it, we don't need to write that anymore. Now click Insert up here in the ribbon bar. And then we want this one right here, which is a column chart. It's kind of in the top left corner. It looks like vertical bars. That's the one you want. So you click on that, and then you click on the first one, which is in the top left corner. I'm left clicking for all of that, by the way. Then you can kind of move it around. And then we have to change some stuff. So let's see here. If I go to Design, you can actually pick different designs for the chart. As tempting as it is to do this black one or this blue one, it's not going to print very well and you're going to waste a lot of ink on that. So I would not recommend doing that. But some of these other ones are pretty good, but we generally want our bars to be filled out. So I'd go for some of the ones that have solid colors. So I'm going to pick, I don't know, this one. That looks good to me. And again, your choice, you can do with it what you will. All right, so now we need to add in some things. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click on this little plus sign. Left click. I want to click Access Titles right there. So that's good. And then I don't think I need any of the rest of the stuff. Nope, I do not. So I'm just going to click off of that. Actually, I think I can click on this part right here, which is more on the style part. And you can change your color scheme. For example, we're currently on that top line of color. So I could change my color to this one or to this one, or I could make it purple, whatever works for you. So I'm going to make it purple just for the heck of it. And then if I go back to style, you can see there are different style selections that are all purple now. So that's another way to get at the style menu. And then bottom part, well, we'll deal with that in a second. So hold that thought. So I want to go over here and I want to type in my titles. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click on this Access Title. I'm going to delete what they had written there and I'm going to type frequency because this was a frequency histogram of that distribution we found. And I don't like how small that is. So let me click on it again and go to Home. I'm going to make it so that it's 12-point font. So type 12 up here, or you can click on the arrow and go down to 12 or 14 or whatever makes you happy. Then I'm going to go in here on this Access Title and kind of delete out what they had. And for me, this was wait times, but you would type in whatever title is appropriate for your data. I'm going to go to Home, click on that. And I want to make this a bigger size font again because I'm going to have to print this for my professor. Oh, it didn't like that. Let me click off, then click back on. Now it's got the whole thing. So Home, 12. Or you can select all of it. There we go. And if you like, you can make them bold or whatever because you're going to have to print it, so you want it to look nice. And then we need to type a title up here. So this was a frequency histogram. For me, it was of wait times. But for you, you put in whatever is appropriate for your data set. Beautiful. All right, now what we have to do is adjust this bottom axis, because this bottom axis is not appropriate. See how my numbers start at 1, 2, 3 on the histogram, but it actually should start at 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to go to Select Data. I'm going to click Edit. I'm going to move this over just so I can see a little bit better. I want to highlight these numbers from 3 through 14. So I click on the 3 and hold down my left mouse button and drag my mouse down to the 14 and then lift up and then say OK and say OK. And now you can see my horizontal axis labels are just like I want. All right, last but not least, histogram bars are not supposed to have gaps like that. So they're supposed to touch. So I'm going to right click and see how all the bars are selected. And I want to click Select Data, which technically you could have done over on that right-hand side. Here, let me show you. Over here on this filter, click Select Data right here. That's where you edit that kind of thing. Sorry, that's where you could do that other part. So I'm going to right click, Select Data. Oh, rats. I keep picking the wrong thing. I'm so sorry. Right click, Format Data Series. That's what I'm trying to do. Format Data Series. There it comes. It's over on the right. It's a little bit different than the old version of Excel. And right here you can see your gap width, and you want that to be 0. Enter. And there you go. Now you've got no gaps. I personally don't like how the borders kind of all get kind of killed in this. So I'm going to add a solid line border. So I clicked on the paint bucket, solid line border. I'm going to make it black. So I'm going to click on that paint bucket and make it black and increase my width to 2 or something. Then click off of it. And you can see there I got some nice borders in there. And if you want to change your fill, you can click on the fill up in here. Oops, you got to click on the bars though. There we go. So you can click on the fill bucket and you can change. Right now it's on automatic, but if you wanted to change it in here, you could do so by saying I want a solid fill, and then you can pick any color you like. So that's another way to do it. And you can see that it doesn't like my borders now, so I got to go back, click on the bars again. So you can mess around in here for quite some time, fiddling around with bars and things like that. So, you know, how much transparency do you want, etc., etc., etc. Things like that. All right, but I'm going back to my purple bars because I like them. So there they are. All right, so now I've got my purple bars. Oh, and I did that quickly by pressing Control and Z, by the way. So if ever you do something and you just don't like it, you can hit Control and Z. You hold down the Control button, hit the Z button. It'll undo what you last did. I don't need this anymore, so if you want, you can just turn it off by clicking over here on the Close. So just a reminder, right-click, Format Data Series is how you play around with some of those options. In particular, you want your gap width to be 0. And then you can click off of it. All right, now all we need to do is print all of this. So let's see. If I go to File, and it'll just be easiest to print it all in one sheet. So I go to File and I go to Print. And you can see, hey, it's printing it nicely. That's because it already has a landscape orientation. If it had a portrait orientation, it would get cut off, see? And you don't want that. So you click on Landscape Orientation. And this is already set up. But this is kind of small. I'm going to go back with this little arrow here. And you can see that between L and M, there becomes kind of a dotted line. You can see that's where the edge of the page is. So if you like, you can kind of drag your picture, make it bigger or whatever. And then if you go to File, Print, oops, my fault. All right, that happens when you have the graph selected. See how the graph is clicked on? Then all it's going to do is click print the graph. So if you want to print the whole thing, go to File, click on one of these cells over here somewhere. Then go File, Print. And there it is. You can see the picture's a little bit bigger there. I have my name in there, the student name in there. It shows the table and it shows the frequency histogram. Be careful, and if you don't want to print the data, you don't need to, then don't print all of it, because I don't need page 2 in this particular example. So I could click print right now. That would print both of them. The other option is to kind of highlight like this, and I would get my name in there if I were a student. So highlight the table and the name, and click print. And instead of saying active sheet, say you want to print your selection. Then it would print this whole table as one page. Then you'd have to go back and print just the chart. So you have to click on the chart and go to File and Print. And that way. So that would take 2 sheets of paper, but it makes it so the chart fills up the whole page, and that's kind of nice. The graph does. But if you don't want to do that, don't bother. Just make sure that you have it so that it all shows up nicely on one sheet of paper. All right, we're all done there. I hope that was helpful, and good luck with your project. And don't eat the candy until it says you can.